Alan Niven was brought in back in 1986 to manage an up-and-coming rock band that had a reputation for being super dysfunctional. So much so that he says no other managers wanted to work with the band at the time. Even their own record label was considering giving up hope. But he took on the role. And a year later, that band would release their breakout legendary record, of course, Appetite for Destruction. And the rest was history for Guns N' Roses. And year after year, Alan would work around the clock behind the scenes to help build this band up into the household name you know today. And in 1991, all of that changed. When he was forced out from working with Guns N' Roses, reportedly due to a dispute directly with the vocalist, Axl Rose. Axl refused to work until Alan was forced out of working with the group, and then he reportedly brought in another manager, one that he had a better relationship with. But Alan says that internally, these days in Guns N' Roses, the band is a shell of its former self, with Axl Rose reportedly making a huge portion of the band's earnings, even compared to the band's iconic guitarist Slash. Here's what he had to say in a fiery interview where he called out the band's frontman, Axl Rose. The former Guns N' Roses manager appeared on the Appetite for Distortion podcast, the 500th episode, and he said that Axl Rose is a control freak, and ultimately it was a dispute with the legendary frontman that pushed him out of the group. He said ultimately over the years, Axl Rose has increased his power over the band to the point that he now takes a whopping 50% of the income from the group. He said, it's a control thing with Axl. Here's another little snapshot that's illuminating and goes to forming a correct perception. Axl takes 50% of the income of Guns N' Roses now. 50%, okay? That to me is anathema. He is not Guns N' Roses. They were 5 individuals. It was a chemistry. It was a moment. But Axl wants to be in control of everything, all the time. And look what that gets you. A boring solo record and a shitty thing of punk covers. And that's it. Elsewhere in the conversation, he revealed that Geffen Records wanted to drop the band because of how bad things were internally. That is, before they released Appetite for Destruction. He said, they were a bunch of fuck-ups whom Geffen wanted to drop. Eddie Rosenblatt wanted to drop the band before Appetite for Destruction ever got recorded. When I came on board and signed a contract with them, apparently, Rosenblatt told a former Geffen A&R executive that he was going to give me 3 months to turn it around and make it look productive. Otherwise, the band was going. Tom didn't tell me that until years later, by the way. But when I came on board, as far as Geffen was concerned, if I didn't make it look real within 3 months, they were going to get dropped. They were hellions. No one wanted to manage them. Why was I managing them? Because everyone else said no. I mean, none of them wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it to start with, either. The seduction for me was actually Slash. When I realized, oh, he's really intelligent and charming. There's a little bit. That's where I started to get sucked in. But I was an authority figure to them all. Now they've gone through all their advances. They were a complete mess. The label wanted to drop them, and that's where I come in the door. When I walk out the door, they just sold Wembley Stadium. I think I did my job. I think I did my job well. And the way I did my job was the way I had to do it to get results. Now, are you going to say that I didn't do my job? Now, after Alan was booted from managing Guns N' Roses in 1991, he was replaced by the band's own tour manager. But Alan says by that time, he had done all the hard work building Guns N' Roses up into international superstardom. He said Goldstein was the tour manager. He had nothing to do with forming the marketing strategy that I employed. He was the tour manager. He makes some rather extravagant claims of his significance. And the one thing I will say was, yeah, you were significant as the tour manager. You did a good job as the tour manager, and I could ride on the bus to the next gig knowing he was on it. So Doug is a tour manager. That's what he's good at. And let's get something else straight, because this is not an opinion. It's a matter of history we can all look at. And because it's history, it's incontrovertible. The fact of the matter is, once he and Michelle Anthony pulled their coup, what do we get out of Guns N' Roses? We got the spaghetti incident and an Axl Rose solo record masquerading under a GNR logo. And, you know, to me, the biggest sin of the record was it was boring. The Chinese Democracy was a boring record, but calling it Guns N' Roses was not honest. It was totally a solo record, and that's all it has been since 1991. So you have to look at it and go, well, Doug, well, Michelle, that worked out really well, didn't it? All those years were lost. Who knows what that band could have done had it stayed together, had it kept its chemical dynamic. who knows what they could have written in those 10, 20, 30 years. Now, it's clear that Alan still has some strong feelings about that unceremonious exit from Guns N' Roses. He does make some fair points. It does seem like he definitely played a significant role in Guns N' Roses going on to become the global juggernaut of a band that we know today. And then also, after that time, we didn't really see a lot of productivity from Guns N' Roses releasing music. All that time in between records, The Chinese Democracy, one of the most expensive albums ever made. Do people spend a lot of time talking about that? Not really. But it is cool that we see Guns N' Roses pretty much back together now. But at the time, it was just such an extraordinary group. And him being forced out seemed to have somewhat of a big impact on the band. Now, I've linked to this whole podcast in the description. Definitely check it out. That's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for the latest news and updates.